So let me ask you a question, because the audio that sticks out to me from the Lions game, they asked for a moment of silence for the tragedy in New Orleans. And in the middle of the moment of silence with 65,000 people, some dude with an iron lung in the upper deck said, "Vikings suck."
You know,
I'm thinking, if you were there, did you hear that? I go, isn't that? I laugh. I said, I shouldn't be laughing. That's sacrilegious. These people died, and yet some fucking idiot is screaming Vikings suck. Imagine the guts or the lunacy or how long he'd been tailgating, and you can hear it on TV. So he must have been near some crowd mic. I don't know.
So that's funny you bring that. I actually wrote that down in my notes because I heard something else get yelled from where we were sitting. They do the moment of silence, and I turn to my brother who's at the game with me. I'm falling apart at the seams, by the way, too. I went to bed at 5 a.m. last night, up at 6. I was running on fumes, so I apologize for what disaster may unfold. But they mentioned the moment of silence, and I turn to my brother. I go, "Someone's gonna yell fuck ISIS," and I'm not joking. I could hear a "fuck you ISIS," unless I misheard it. It was just the Vikings suck. But I swear to God, I heard "fuck you ISIS."
Good for you, ISIS.
Which I'm like, okay, I can back that during a moment of silence. But nice making a moment of silence all about you.
The other audio that was produced by the players, was produced by the broadcast team, must have mentioned it 20 times, was the fact that 2 14-2 teams had never played before, with everything on the line. And I'm thinking, this is really, what if they lose this game? What if they lose tragically at the end? Think of, instead of being the number 1 seed and only have to play 3 games, having a week off so everybody that's hurt can heal more. Otherwise, you could lose by a point. Now you drop to the 5th seed. You got teams that have lost 4 games more. You got the Rams 10-7 would have hosted the Lions at home.
Yeah.
Then Tampa 10 would have hosted the Lions had they gotten that far. And so it was so critically important to win that game. And I kept on thinking how the town is going to be furious. You're going to have people railing about the playoff rules. How can you be 14-3 and be behind these other teams?
Yeah. I was already there, Eli. I had already kind of accepted the fact that, Mark kept telling me, I think they're going to lose this game.
I thought they were, yeah. I thought they were going to lose.
And I was thinking about it, and I'm thinking it would be so Lion-esque of them to have this season, this unbelievable record-breaking season, and then wind up having to be the wild card team. But thank God it didn't happen.
Yeah. Well, Amon-Ra St. Brown came out earlier this week and basically said, I think it was Amon-Ra that said, I don't like the way they do the seeding. This is ridiculous. I mean, these are the 2 best teams in the NFC. They should be seeded 1 and 2. I got to tell you, I'm kind of with them. Why are we on our, the edge of our seats watching Tampa Bay and New Orleans and Atlanta fight for, the NFC South, which would be I think the 4th seed in a home game? Those teams suck.
Well, it's funny. I was going to talk at the end of the show about the way baseball used to be that way. And when the Tigers won in 1968, not to go too far back, there were 10 teams in the American League, and only 1 got into the. So you had 20 teams in baseball, only 2 got to play in the postseason. So you had entire wasted seasons of a team that had won 90 games and could have gone and not. So now it's kind of the other way. But you have to have divisions. And so there's 4 divisions. They give it to the division winner. Sometimes it helps you. Sometimes it hurts you because you can get 9 and 8 teams that make it in, depending on the rest of your division. It just would have been nothing you could blame the league on. Just would have been a quirk that would have really stuck it to the Lions in an ugly way.
Yeah, and now it gets stuck to the Vikings, But here's some more first. Obviously, we know this is the first time they've been the number 1 seed and the Lions get the bye. This is the first time back-to-back division champions. This is the first time they've swept everybody in the division in a year, which that one really surprised me, even knowing the history of the Lions. There are just so many firsts that keep popping up, and just a dominating performance, 31-9 over the Vikings at home. Every phase of the game, Eli.
It's just, and listen, the overall thing that stunned everybody last night, from the Vikings to Chris Collinsworth and Mike Tirico, that the Lion defense, which was the thing that was going to hold them back and prevent them from winning the Super Bowl, we've been moaning about it for a month, was amazing. Sam, how they play man-to-man defense on Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison and T.J. Hawkinson, great receivers. Darnold has this incredible season, and yet, although we couldn't see downfield on TV, you got Darnold running around like a lunatic in the backfield, and he still can't find anybody open. It was just stunning. And I tell you, the other thing I'm thinking, if they don't win this year, they're going to lose Ben Johnson. They're going to lose Aaron Glenn all game long. All these guys did was draw praise for the incredible job they've done as coordinators, truthfully enough. And so you think, I mean, and you see what happens teams from one year to the next, what happened to the 49ers from one year to the next. So this really had to be the season, and then if they've lost that game, to have had to go on the road, play 4 games instead of 3, would have been really upsetting. Now there's a chance Hutchinson can come back for the Super Bowl. The Super Bowl's not for like 5 weeks now, right? Because they got next week is the first round. They don't have to go to and so there's going to be like I think 5 weeks until they 5 weeks
about 5 or 6 maybe, right? Because don't they take a bye? No, there's 4 rounds bye week then Super Bowl. You're right. Yep. Yeah, and there's 2 weeks off before the Super Bowl. So yeah. In any case, it didn't turn out that way. I was hoping they would take Jahmyr Gibbs out of the game at some point. I mean, at one point when he got hit, and you think, oh man, if he goes down, it's all over. Early on, there was a screen pass and he just got leveled by, was it Van Ginkel or
Van Ginkel?
Van Ginkel. What a stupid name.
That was a big monster hit.
It was a monster hit. What does he do? He comes back and has a combined 180 yards to all purpose. 23 carries, 5 receptions, and 4 touchdowns. I mean, he was unreal. Easily the offensive MVP. I thought Goff, his stats don't show it, but I thought he had kind of an off game.
Especially the first half.
Yeah. The tip balls. He had 2 interceptions. One, I think, was really, thank God Drew's not here, because one was kind of JMO's fault. I thought he stopped on the ball at the deep pass.
They got a big break when Goff was not called for intentional grounding in the end zone.
That was, and
they got to keep that alive. And then when they had to punt it away.
Wait, what? Can I ask you about that? Was that play that close? Because there was somebody in the vicinity. I mean, you could see. I know he's throwing at his feet.
Wright was in the vicinity,
Wright.
but he didn't aim for him. He wasn't throwing it at anybody. I suppose it could have gone either way.
Yeah.
But that would have really, really hurt them. And then it's 17-9 in the fourth quarter, and Van Ginkel, nearly a pick six. It was in his hands. He would have gone all the way, and then right after that, where it would have been 17-15, whatever. Goff hits JMO, then Gibbs goes left behind, great blocking, his 19th touchdown of the year, 24-9. That pretty much did it. And then, Minnesota, 13 minutes left. They haven't scored a touchdown all day, and you think they need to now. It's just not going to happen. So fast, and then Gibbs' 47-yard run, ice after that.
But all those stands within the 5-yard line?
Yeah, you know what? I'm glad you brought that up, because this kind of reminded me when Ohio State and Michigan played, Ryan Day was insistent to show, like, our team is tough. We're going to play Michigan's game and beat them at it, right? Just poorly coached game. I think there was a little bit of that with Kevin O'Connell and some of the plays he was calling, because I think they ran the ball twice on inside the 10-yard line on goal-to-go basically situations, and they kept throwing the ball and no one was ever open. He was very insistent on going for it on 4th down, which is Dan Campbell's thing. Is it possible he fell into that trap of, hey, we're going to play that way too. We're going to be ultra aggressive. Really?
No.
Were you surprised they didn't run the ball more?
I was, but that's all sportscaster crap, saying that they're trying to prove something. They're trying to show this.
Thanks for calling me an idiot.
They're trying to win the game. But to just go back for a second, the pregame show, which you didn't see.
No.
I mean, the Hall of Ford. First of all, you got the pregame team outside freezing their asses off and thinking, here they are, and the Lions fans are going crazy. And then the telecast, you had a funny thing where Keegan-Michael Key is playing like he's in with a shrink, and he's worried about the Lions. Well, what if they lose and this and that? Then you got Jeff Daniels sitting with a fire behind him. I thought that was really kind of a weak segment with Jeffries throwing all these cliches about destiny as it's a team of destiny and all that nonsense. But you do feel in a sense, it depends on how you define destiny. Does destiny mean that there's the hand of God that's forming them through, or is destiny because they so believe in themselves that you kind of feel that now? I believe they're destined to win this thing now because of the advantages that they have, and the belief they have, and the coaching they have, and the fact that they may get some players back. So it's kind of destiny in a sense that way. But,
well, speaking of getting a player back, I mean, Alex Anzalone was so huge.
Yeah.
In his play yesterday. I mean, just the way he goes from sideline to sideline. Did they show the player announcements on TV? Because they left him for last, and that was the loudest, outside of a touchdown in the game. That was the loudest that stadium was.
Yeah, they popped for him, and he played great. He covered T.J. Hawkinson the whole night, shut him down, really. He had 7 total tackles, and he's just back. He's a big leader. He still doesn't have the green dot. That's still on Jack Campbell, I noticed, but he's back.
How about the Lions secondary?
Yeah.
Now, Amik Robinson was a free agent, but not considered the top 4 or 5 guys.
Nope.
There was Terry Arnold, the rookie. You had Carlton Davis, who now has a broken jaw. You had Branch. You had Kirby Joseph. These are all great secondary players. But this guy covered Justin Jefferson like a blanket.
I was surprised that he was the guy covering Jefferson until you find out that, oh, you know what? He's known him since high school. He played against him in high school. I think he played against him once in college. So it's like, because they were jawing. I don't know how much of that they showed on the TV, but there were a lot of long routes. Jefferson would go out. And the whole way back, Robertson is just in his ear, just totally jawing at him. Like, you ain't getting the ball tonight. You're not going to catch anything. And he flat out.
Locker room talk.
He flat out shut him down. He should have had an interception in the end zone, too, that he dropped. I mean,
I know Justin Jefferson's a great player, but boy, does he come off like a pretty boy. He's got the perfectly coiffed hair,
the dancing, the gritty.
Is just. I'm thinking.
I never thought that he would be shut down, and I certainly didn't think the Vikings would not score a single touchdown. 9 points, touchdown, and they missed a field goal, and they have a really good kicker, too.
And that's against the defense that was giving up 40 points a game.
Explain it.
The over-under was 56.5, and it was like 10-9 for most of the game. But anyway, the Daniels thing, he's sitting in a chair by the fire. He's got an old helmet, like dredging up the Lions' sordid history. And he says stuff like, is this what destiny feels like? With the biggest of possible stakes. Dare to dream the impossible. Thinking, Jeff, you would never read anything this corny in a movie or something. But anyway, it all built up, and fascinating game. And you just have to hand it to them. They did the impossible. They beat the Vikings. They held them to 9 points, no touchdowns, with a defense that looked like it had no chance of steering them into the play or steering them through the playoffs. But
and a big play. The Lions are up 23-9. I want to say it's 4th and 2, down near the goal line. And they're not going to kick a field goal. And everybody around us is like, why wouldn't you kick a field goal here?
Field goal,
You would make a 2-possession game.
It would have put them up 18. It would have put them up 18 points, 3 scores. They were only up by 2.
Yep.
And they drew them offside. That's the trick play
I'm just flabbergasted that worked. And then Goff came out after the game yesterday, said, we were never going to snap that ball. That was never. We were going to kick the field goal. They jumped.
They
outside.
Go for it so often that you have to.
You
be
nailed
prepared.
it, Brandon.
Right.
You're absolutely correct.
But it was nonsensical to go for it in that particular situation. They were in field goal range. They didn't need to. Brilliant. And I'll tell you, the other thing that was brilliant is I think the half is over. I'm going to take out the garbage. It's 30 seconds left. And it's Reichart, this poor kid, this kicker, kicks the ball out of bounds. The Lions get it at the 40 with 20 seconds left. Darnold, he hits
Raymond,
St. Brown.
Yeah.
And then I think it was
it Raymond?
Gibbs.
Gibbs, okay.
I think Gibbs after that. And then he kicks the field goal, makes it 10-6 at the half. But that was big.
That was a huge
hell of a 20-second drive.
Yeah. And Darnold, and then in the third, Akers a 58-yard run to the 5. Mm-hmm. It's the score is 10-6 at that point. And they could take the lead. And then, again, they stop him there. Darnold was 1 for 11 with 5 yards in the red zone after that, where that was your talk where they just couldn't find anybody open. Just fascinating stuff.
That game was unreal. Yeah, 262 total yards for Minnesota. That just did not expect that at all. And like you mentioned, Darnold was just way off, 18 of 41. Minnesota 3 of 13 and 0 for 3 on third down and fourth down, respectively.
Yeah.
I mean, that was an ass kicking.
When they did that thing where they drew him offside, they called that the turbo. I never heard turbo set because that's the turbo set. Whatever, it worked. And I tell you, so a few minutes after that, Gibbs runs in for his fourth touchdown, makes it 31-9. And I'm looking at the clock, it's 11:10, and I'm saying this town is in a state of ecstasy right now. This is exactly as good as anybody could have ever hoped it would be. They're 15-2. The Chiefs are hurt. Mahomes is injured or didn't play. They could, unless the Bill, I think they would have trouble against the Bills in the Super Bowl. But it just lined up so beautifully. Can they ever turn into the same old Lions, or are they destined to go? It's all laying out there for them.
You keep mentioning the destiny part. Well, they released next year's schedule, and it looks brutal on the road. They got to go play the Ravens, Bears, Packers, of course, Vikings, Bengals, Eagles, Commanders, Rams, and the Chiefs on the road. So next year is going to be not an easy run. So they better take this number 1 seed and make it worth it.
And that's the thing, too. Now that you're in the playoffs, every team really is good, right? So
any team can win.
Minnesota's going to Los Angeles to play the Rams, who they lost to. It's one of the two. The only other team other than the Lions that they've lost to is the Rams. So the question is, who would you rather play? Would you want to play the Vikings for a third time this year, or would you want to play the Rams in Stafford again?
Yeah, and they had Stafford at home last year and barely beat him in the playoffs. So you don't want to go there on the road, but
the Rams would come here if they were to beat Minnesota. I would just think, most likely they reseed, but most likely if serve holds where the higher seeds win.
And the Lions now get to play the lowest seeded team in the first round, which is so you didn't see it on TV. Brandon, you did.
Yeah.
There was an Applebee's commercial. Where it looked, they say, well, you can get a burger like that. It looked like shit on a bun. It was the ugliest piece of meat you've ever seen. I couldn't even look at it. And they go, no, but instead they go to the Applebee's. I go, why would you ever show that? It's like you could have put vomit there, and it wouldn't have been more unappealing. God, was that awful. I'm thinking, who sat in the boardroom and approved that commercial?
I did see that ad. They ran it several times, yes.
Good luck getting Applebee's as a sponsor now, jeez.
I actually turned my head away the last time I didn't want to look at it. God.
The power of advertising.
Anyway, this should be a fun couple of weeks. Lions get to sit back. I expect nice injury reports on how guys are coming along.
Well, the big one is Terrion Arnold, right? I mean, there was a lot of fear there that there's a lower leg injury, which I think they're saying now is ankle. He was in a boot after the game, and all he said is, I'm playing in the playoffs. You're not going to stop me. X-rays were negative, so what does that mean? I have no idea, but I really hope he's there, because has anybody improved more throughout the season than Terrion Arnold?
He's really come along.
No. He came in with a lot of bluster. Remember at the draft and everything, he's like, I'm a player, I'm going to be a star, and he's probably right. Now, the other thing is, with all this time off, that hopefully Carlton Davis, if they do lose Arnold, that he can come back. The broken jaw. I mean, they can wire that thing up, can't they? Or give him some type of face covering.
Which that reminds me, this is my here. I'm going to be the old man now because this is my pet peeve. Why don't you have to wear the mouth guard? And if you don't have to wear a mouth guard, why have it hanging from your face mask? I don't know why. I don't know why that drives me so insane.
Stick it in the top like Brian Branch.
At least that's a unique thing. Like only Brian Branch does it that I know of. But every other guy just has it just dangling from his mask. It's like, what's the point? Take it off.
I don't know. Anyway, this is what's so great about all of this, and the Lions have become such a great national story. Let's face it. This is an historically awful franchise. The only legacy team that never even got to play in a Super Bowl. They've won their conference maybe once or twice in '91, I guess. Again this year, and then here they set all these efficiency records on the way. It's just been a terrific a trip. This whole 4-19-1 Dan Campbell to what's the record's insane. What are they, like 35-10? It's just crazy how good they've been. So.
Yeah, what do they say? The 3 years before Dan Campbell, they had a combined 14 wins, and then they had 15 this year alone. I mean, that's nuts.
Right. Well, he also started 4-19-1, right. And yet, nobody gave up on him.
No.
As you see Gerard Mayo get fired after 1 year in Boston or for the Patriots, and how 4-19-1, and Sheila Hamp came out and said, "We support this. This is going to happen. Trust me, we're going to turn it around." And I tell you what, she should be the executive of the year. She wasn't last year; she ought to be this year.
You think so?
Why not? I mean, look at the turnaround of this franchise. Look what she's done. Her family had 50 years of futility.
Yeah,
60 years of futility, more than that. Anyway, it's good. It's all good stuff.
And who's going to be coach of the year then? Is that going to be O'Connell? Is it going to be the Vikings coach? Is it going to be the Redskins coach? Or
could be
Commanders coach?
Harbaugh. Could be Harbaugh. Who's turning them around?
That reminds me too. Here's the lineup for this weekend. Harbaugh has got the first game as the Chargers go to Houston at 4:30. I love this weekend. This is such a good weekend.
Yeah.
So Chargers at the Houston Texans. Pittsburgh's at Baltimore, an interdivisional matchup at 8:00 on Saturday night. Sunday, you get 3 games in a row. Denver at Buffalo at 1:00. Green Bay at Philadelphia, 4:30.
Yeah.
Washington at Tampa at 8:00. And Monday Night Football for playoffs, you have the Vikings going to the Rams, as we talked about.
And you have to have a different service for every single game.
Oh, that's right.
Every single game has a different provider. It's ridiculous.
I'm glad you mentioned that.
I was going to say earlier, we were talking about the Chiefs. The Chiefs played on Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
That's a Wednesday. They played on Monday Night Football. They played on a Monday and Wednesday. They also played Thursday night several times. They played Friday night a few weeks ago, and they played on Saturday. The Chiefs have played every day of the week except Tuesday because their schedule just in fact, wasn't this Lions Minnesota game scheduled for 1:00?
It was a flex game. Yeah. Every game this past weekend was.
Yeah, but anyway, it's just fascinating.
Yeah, Brandon, to your point, the first game CBS Paramount Plus. Then you have to have Amazon Prime Video if you want to watch Pittsburgh Baltimore.
Oof.
And then NBC Peacock on Sunday night. So everything except for Prime on Saturday night is pretty much, most people have them because it's all CBS, Fox, and NBC and ESPN. Yeah.
Eventually it'll all be streaming because you had Netflix has bought in. They had the Christmas game. They had 2 games. By the way, I was wrong when I was talking this with Drew. Netflix paid $75 million per game. They paid $150 million for the 2 games on Christmas. You think about it, with the audience they had, you know what Super Bowl spots go for? It's like $7,500 for a 30-second spot. Yeah. They actually made money on that. That's how much money there is in this advertising, why every single network is going after it. And pretty soon it's going to be all streaming. Well, it's going to be all a la carte. And all
not to mention, you got to believe some people actually had to sign up for Netflix to watch those, because some people, believe it or not, don't have Netflix. Mm-hmm. And so they had to sign up if they wanted to watch those games. I'm sure they got
80 million American households have it.
How many?
80 million American households. But of course, that's more people, because most households have 2, 3, 4 people in it. So hundreds of millions have access to it, and 270 million around the world, I think.
Well, that's. I'd love to know, did people around the world watch those games on Christmas? Because they're not available after the fact.
I don't know. But I tell you, Lamar, it's funny because Prime Video has got the Baltimore game. Lamar, I think it's got the MVP wrapped up. One of the most remarkable seasons ever by a quarterback. First to amass 4,000 yards passing, 900 yards rushing. First to throw over 40 touchdown passes and fewer than 5 interceptions. He only had 4. He's one of a kind, as John Harbaugh said, and that's a team that I would worry about the Lions facing in the Super Bowl.
That's the one I've been talking about for, I think, 2 weeks now. I think Baltimore is going to the Super Bowl and probably winning it.
Yeah.
I just think they're just loaded and they're peaking at the right time. They're healthy. So you think he's got it wrapped up? No chance.
I think he's got it wrapped up. In fact, I think I think Goff isn't even in the top
No,
four.
Goff is he's fallen out.
Josh Allen, obviously Lamar, and you've got Joe Burrow, who's having to,
leads the league.
The statistics are so scientific now, so algorithmic, that they take into account how much his team hurts him or helps him. And so Burrow with the Bengals, who are not a great team, it makes his stats all the more impressive. And Goff has got no shot. It doesn't matter. And Saquon Barkley, now that the running backs are back, would probably be the fourth-rated guy.
I mean, that's incredible. A guy has over 2,000 yards of rushing, and he's like, maybe third, fourth best player in the league.
It's all about the quarterback, baby.
Yeah.
When Brandon, I think you're too young for this, but during the game, they had Barry stand in the end zone and hold those cards. And that's what Dylan, and I saw the new Dylan, that's what Dylan did, one of his famous songs where he's sitting there in New York City on the streets and taking one, flash card after another. And let's look at Barry, man. Barry's gotten a little heavy over the years.
Yeah. Oh, he's short. Fine. Barry's doing great.
It just cracks me up. So they introduced Calvin was there too. It was probably high as shit, by the way. But Calvin was there, and he's like, they're in and out, and he's waving to the crowd as he should. Very gracious. Yep. Chauncey Billups was there. They announced Chauncey. Yeah. Chauncey waves to the crowd. And they announced Barry. Barry claps. Like, let's hear it. Let's hear it for Barry Sanders. Who's that guy? Oh wait, that's me. He just seems He seems so uninterested in being feted in any shape or fashion.
Was Taylor Lautner there?
Taylor Lautner was there.
Oh my God.
I don't know why. So was Eminem, and Eminem and his daughter were there. They showed them on the big screen.
Aww.
Yeah.
I think, in fact, she had Michael Keegan Key and Daniels. I was waiting for Eminem to show up and do some type of pregame hype also.
Yeah, they just showed him sitting in his suite, waves to the crowd. They basically played the whole 8 Mile song.
Lose Yourself. And then they cut to him, and when Haley was up there and the place went ape shit. She's a podcaster. Hey.
I know.
Who is?
Eminem's daughter, Haley Jade. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But God, what a great night. I mean, that crowd, that was one happy crowd.
Well, I was going to ask you about the crowd because we heard this story that the Vikings had purchased $2 million worth of tickets. So did you hear all the skull chants? Was it loud for the Vikings fans?
I've seen other people say, that there wasn't that many Viking fans there. I thought they were dispersed a lot more than other opposing teams were, if that makes sense. Now,
that's because they had to buy just whatever was available in the secondary market. They didn't have a section that they could all buy it in. So they were diluted.
The reports were that the Vikings spent $2 million, bought almost 2,000 tickets to give to their season ticket holders, and then the secondary story is that a lot of those people then bought them and resold them to people in Michigan. But I still thought they showed up pretty well. They had nothing to cheer for. They really had very little to cheer for. Not one touchdown. There were a couple big runs, couple big plays, and you could hear it then, but nothing at all.
Yep. Anyway, just
nothing cracks me up more than when the place goes ape shit when they say number 70 reporting as an eligible receiver. The whole Dan Skipper thing, going back to when he didn't report and that whole hullabaloo. It's funny.
Tirico mentioned it about a dozen times.
Yeah, and every time Skipper has to put his arms out and say, "Can you guys shut up? We're on the offense now."
Well, as they were lauding the Lions in the pregame show, they did a very nice montage of all their trick plays this year, which was really, really very, very impressive. It turns out there were no trick plays last night except for pulling them off sides on 4th down.